speak about the hearts of those who sometimes cannot fight for themselves. Thank you for this moment to be able to share our hearts with the President and his administration. Dr. King said, we cannot influence a table that we are not seated at. And so we pray that this conversation will be fruitful and productive and honoring of the best traditions of this nation.
The week begins at the White House following a weekend of 2 mass shootings. President Trump announces he has directed the Justice Department to take extensive actions against the rise of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. Also on Monday, the White House imposes strict sanctions on Venezuela, while China halts all purchases of U.S. farming products. Tuesday, Texas Representative Joaquin Castro under fire for tweeting out the names and businesses of those who donated to the president's re-election campaign. Plus, Congress requests 8chan's owner testify after that mass shooting in El Paso. Meanwhile, the GOP versus California.
The Trump campaign and the Republican Party are suing California over a new law requiring presidential candidates to release their tax returns.
Midweek, the president visits El Paso and Dayton.
Both places just incredible.
Also on Wednesday,
and the president is reportedly considering a presidential commutation for former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich.
And in Southern California, a stabbing spree leaves 4 people dead. Abroad in Puerto Rico, the Justice Secretary is sworn in as the new governor. And in Canada, authorities believe they found the 2 bodies of 2 teen murder suspects wanted in the death of 3 people, including 1 American. Thursday, ICE agents arrest hundreds of undocumented workers at food processing plants across Mississippi. And President Trump names a new acting National Intelligence Director, as the current deputy director says she's leaving her post. And the week ends where it began, at the White House, with President Trump pledging he's taking action following the shootings.
I think we can have some really meaningful background checks.
Finally, on Friday, Twitter unlocks Mitch McConnell's campaign account after being suspended for alleged terms violations. Rachel Alsanas, One American.
Ready for action, training and patrolling, making their presence known. Jets are fitted with cameras to record what's happening on the waters below. It means it's harder for Iran to target tankers in the Gulf without getting caught on film. That matters in an information war. This aircraft carrier is also ready for a shooting war.
A large part of deterrence is the readiness that backs that deterrence up. So we're ready to defend the U.S. and the U.S. interests if called upon.
President Donald Trump called upon the USS Abraham Lincoln to deploy to this region earlier than planned. It arrived in May as tensions escalated with Iran. Yet the ship so far steered clear of the Strait of Hormuz.
There are some 5,600 crew on this carrier and about 70 different aircraft conducting daily missions. The goal is to deter threats through maintaining an increased presence. But officers tell me that if the call came to conduct airstrikes on Iran using aircraft like these, they wouldn't hesitate.
Warplanes on this ship were primed to attack in June after Iran shot down a US drone. Those strikes were called off, but crews could be primed again. US and British warships and aircraft share information on threats in the region. They also share port space in Bahrain. These are the first independent images of the Royal Navy ship since it arrived in the region last month. It's one of 2 British warships protecting UK-flagged vessels transiting through the strait. This officer is in charge of 2 American destroyers doing a similar job. As yet, no other country has committed ships.
This is a situation that requires time. Each nation's capital has to go through the process of their own force generation and seeing what capabilities they can and are willing to provide to the international maritime security construct.
The politics of the Iran-US standoff make it hard for other countries to get involved. But a fifth of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Any disruption to tanker traffic is a problem for everyone. Iran is certainly watching every move the US makes in these waters. For now, there's an uneasy calm, but these ships are clearly equipped to respond should that change.
The FBI and the Justice Department are demanding answers now after Epstein was found unresponsive in his Manhattan jail cell Saturday. Here's what we know so far. He was found dead days after being taken off suicide watch. And although an autopsy has been completed, we're still no closer to learning exactly how he died.
So let's report what we can at the moment on this Monday morning at 9 a.m. Brian Yennis is here to do just that. Brian, good morning.
Bill, good morning. New York City's chief medical examiner performed an autopsy on Jeffrey Jeffrey Epstein Sunday in front of a private pathologist hired by Epstein's representatives, as is routine. The Examiner says an official cause of death is pending further information. Experts say this is also not unusual. This, as the Department of Justice and the FBI conduct two separate investigations into the circumstances of Epstein's death Saturday. Fox News has learned that Epstein was not checked on for several hours leading up to his apparent suicide inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, even though he should have been, according to MCC's normal operations. Now, according to a person familiar with the situation, Epstein should have been physically checked on by guards every 30 minutes. This source also says the fact that Epstein did not have a cellmate on the night of his death is also unusual. According to the Associated Press, Epstein had recently been taken off suicide watch, despite reportedly being found in his jail cell with bruising on his neck 2 weeks ago. The AP also reporting that jail guards in Epstein's unit may have been overworked. One guard was reportedly working a 5th straight day of overtime, another working mandatory overtime. The criminal case against the 66-year-old convicted pedophile ends with his death. Epstein was facing federal charges for sex trafficking dozens of underage girls, but the investigation can continue into suspected co-conspirators, including possibly Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former lover, accused by victims of procuring girls for him. Meanwhile, Epstein's accusers vow to go after his hundreds of millions of dollars in civil suits. The circumstances of Epstein's death have fueled conspiracy theories. President Trump retweeting one, an unfounded theory implying the Clintons had something to do with his death. Kellyanne Conway defended the president on Fox News Sunday.
Long accepted as normal that it's okay for the United States Congress to bail out the crooks on Wall Street, but it is radical and extremist to say that we should make public colleges and universities tuition free.
In the America we believe in, we will pay women equally for equal work.
I think this privatization of Medicaid has been an absolute disaster. Under Medicare for All and Medicaid for All, make sure that privatization becomes illegal.
Look, as long as the NRA is calling the shots, there's not going to be meaningful change.
Big weekend there. Peter Ducey joining us now live from Des Moines with the latest. Peter, good morning.
Sandra, a lot of Democrats have the first Tuesday in November 2020 circled on their calendars, but a lot of Democrats are also now checking old pages on their calendars because over the weekend, the former Vice President Joe Biden said this.
Watch what happened when those kids from Parkland came up to see me when I was vice president. They went into and some of you covered it.
The issue with that statement is Joe Biden had moved out of the Naval Observatory more than a year before the mass murder at Parkland. But his team indicates Biden did meet with some of the students turned activists from that high school just as a private citizen. And his deputy campaign manager is shrugging off the confusion, tweeting this: "Wouldn't it be nice to have a president who consoles Americans in their time of need so often that he sometimes mistakes the timing? But even more so, wouldn't it be nice to have a president these tragedies?" Because these are the early days of a Democratic caucus season. There is also a heavy emphasis here on climate change, and Bernie Sanders is focusing to us on science and more on name-calling.
Donald Trump believes that climate change is a hoax. He's an idiot.